like that, and then I'm going to turn my camera off, and we'll watch the YouTubes and react to it as we usually do. You guys know the drill, right? But I want to turn off my camera this time because I'm eating. Where the fuck is? Where's my camera? I actually can't find my camera. There's my webcam. Okay, the Switch 2 is a huge problem for the Steam Deck. I think this is an inflammatory title, and I think it's on purpose to get people to click and to get people to disagree and be mad. And grr, oh boy, I'm really fucking mad. I'm actually not mad, but I do think that they're different categories of devices other than being both portable. One's a console, one's a PC. If there was a handheld gaming PC that was as streamlined as the Steam Deck and had an amazingly understandable and easy to use user interface, the Steam Deck would be in trouble. But I don't think that the Steam Deck is going to be in trouble because of something like the Switch 2.
Not only do I love PC gaming, I also love handheld gaming. Yeah, I'm gonna pull a Dreamcast guy real fast. This little bad boy, this little device here,
that's not
has
little.
honestly been the saving grace not only as a dad, but someone who works at their desk basically almost 19 hours a day. Everything from having a regular job to editing to recording to even playing games on their PC. Getting away from my desk and using a Steam Deck has honestly been fantastic. Not only that, but learning more about Linux, becoming more savvy in terms of what Valve is going to be producing in the future.
I'm going to be honest. I hate using Linux outside of just using it for Steam OS, Flash Chimera OS, or Bazite. Right? I don't want to tinker with the Windows, the operating system further than using it as a gaming device. So when I have a Linux-based gaming device, I only use it for gaming. I don't use any of the computing shit on the back end. I don't feel like learning it. I don't think it's all that fun to tinker with unless you're a tinkerer. If you're a tinkerer and you want to have fun with stuff like that, you probably do not have enough time. If you're a dad and if you're always at your desk and you know, like, be real.
And even just learning more about PCs in general has always, in fact, been for me a fantastic thing. But you see, the problem doesn't end there. Everybody's been comparing the Steam Deck to this, to the Switch, and I can see why.
I can't see why.
Would immediately have that comparison. Yeah, I'm pulling a double Dreamcast guy on this entire thing. But the fact is, just because two things are handheld doesn't mean they're doing the exact same thing. In fact, they're not doing the same thing.
I agree with this guy.
Is a closed ecosystem where you cannot do much unless you have a paperclip to, of course, do the things you want to do. And unlike the Switch being a closed platform, the Steam Deck is the complete opposite. Totally open. Gives you the ability to be fully modular, so if anything breaks, you can repair it on your own through iFixit's website, getting all the parts on your own and doing it on that end. You can have a full desktop mode, have a complete PC if you want to, stream through OBS if you need to, use that as a secondary PC to stream from if you want.
I will admit that is really cool. Being able to use OBS as a secondary streaming PC, or you can stream from it as your main only one device. That's not like a cell phone or something. I think that's really powerful about the Steam Deck. And even though it's weaker hardware than the Switch 2 is likely to be, that's something that the Switch 2 literally won't be able to do. Like, I'm certain Nintendo wants to keep their walled garden closed ecosystem, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's just, that's what makes the Steam Deck or PC handhelds in general so different from something like a game console traditionally.
To, or even install emulators, any game from any platform, and of course having the entire Linux library available to you. So no, these are not the same devices, but just the form factor is what may be similar. But the thing is, those comparisons keep cropping up between the Steam Deck and the Switch, and now it's going to be even more apparent with the Switch 2 coming out very soon. But apparently, the Steam Deck didn't live up to expectations by what the internet is saying, and it's a colossal failure for Valve. This is how completely perverse the internet has become with sales figures.
I see what's happening. He agrees with me, and he's using this headline to talk to the people who want this to be true. Because sales figures for a company like Valve don't matter as much as you think. You are selling the Steam Deck at a loss, but you're doing it to get people to buy games in your ecosystem of Steam. That's the point. Right? And a lot of people who buy Steam Decks already have PCs, or already have some other way to access Steam. So now they're just bolstering their Steam catalogs after spending $400, after spending $550. You're just giving them another reason to stay on Steam. It's almost like a consumer advocacy thing. It's almost like Steam really cares about its customers as much as any multi-million-dollar company can.
Let's find out and see why. According to The Verge, 3 years later, the Steam Deck has dominated handheld PC gaming. Now, right off the bat, you would think, Alex, how is that a negative headline? What is actually happening? How are people saying the Steam Deck is in fact a failure and is not a competitor to the Switch 2, even though it never was a competitor to the Switch or the Switch 2? But let's continue.
Because it doesn't have as many
According
sales.
to the market research firm IDC, it uses supply chain estimates to just how many handheld gaming systems have shipped around the world and creates spending forecasts. When I asked the IDC market research analyst, Lewis Ward, if he was willing to isolate some Steam OS and Windows gaming handhelds for the data, he said yes. So here are the estimated combined shipments of the Steam Deck and Windows-based Asus ROG Ally, Lenovo Legion Go, and MSI Claw from 2022 to 2024, and an estimate for 2025.
Hell
As
yeah.
you can see, each year is a little bit different. From 2022, there were 1.6 million units sold. 2023, 2.8. 2024, 1.45. And the estimate for 2025 is 1.926. Now, this does have
Combined Valve Steam Deck, Asus ROG Ally, Lenovo Legion Go, and MSI Claw. Figures include all SKUs of the associated hardware families. Okay. The reason why the bump is so big in 2023 is because Valve finally caught up with for the Steam Deck. Like, they were having a tough time shipping it out 2022. But in 2023, boom, they went full force, and basically you could get them on the website super easily. There was no longer back orders, which is a good thing. And that's around the time when other device manufacturers start putting their hat in the ring, right? Like Lenovo, like Asus, like I think MSI's was the Claw was 2024, right? So the Lenovo Legion Go and the ROG Ally were 2023, if I'm not mistaken. So that's why there was such a big influx. A lot of people thought the idea of the Steam Deck was really cool, but either put Windows on it and realized, wow, this thing is a little weak for Windows, or would have preferred a stronger handheld PC and would have paid more for it. And to pay that premium, you get yourself something like the ROG Ally or Legion Go. So that's why the bump is fucking massive in 2023, at least in my opinion.
Have a combined value of the Steam Deck, the ROG Ally, the Legion Go, and the MSI Claw figures, all SKUs in associated with their hardware families. This is a total combination of all those devices put together. Now, of course, adding that all together, you're looking at about under 6 million units shipped for these 3 years. When you try to find out who's actually winning and selling the most products, it's not Lenovo, it's not Valve, it's not Nintendo, it's not PlayStation or Xbox, it's AMD winning everything because they're the ones being with all the contracts for all these devices.
That's true. AMD makes everything outside of the Switch. The Switch is NVIDIA hardware, right? It's the Tegra. And that means it was a Tegra. I don't know what the new one's going to be, but I mean, it's based off Ampere, which is the RTX 30 series. So RTX, that's NVIDIA. NVIDIA makes the Switch's hardware, Android tablet, whatever, but at least the internals. But everything else is made by AMD. PS5, the Xbox Series consoles, the Valve Steam Deck, ROG Ally, the Lenovo Legion Go, the Acer Nitro Blazes, right? Everything outside of the MSI Claws, because that's Intel, is AMD. AMD is whooping ass on every front except their GPUs.
But apparently, though, it turns out there's more information to this as well, because as the article continues, it says, but out of those 6 million shipments, the lion's share have been the Steam Deck itself. According to IDC estimates, all of the 2022 shipments are the Steam Deck, and Ward tells me upwards of 50% of the 2023 shipments and 40% of the 2024 shipments are the Deck as well.
Damn.
Doing the math, Valve has now shipped upwards of 3.7 million Steam Decks and has quite possibly crossed the 4 million mark by now. And here is where everybody is calling the Steam Deck an apparent failure, because
4 million
it shipped
compared to the
4
Steam's
million
number.
units, not realizing what exactly the Steam Deck actually is, the kind of market it's breaking into, and on top of that, the fact that the Steam Deck is not being sold in any major retailer or brick and mortar location.
Could you imagine if they sold brand new Steam Decks, not just through Valve's website, but at GameStops and at Best Buys? that number would be significantly fucking higher. Because there's so many people who like don't really like to order things like technology off online and don't really want to deal with waiting for shipping time, and potentially a thing goes wrong and you have nowhere to physically return the device or get it serviced. You have to like take it in and then they ship it back to you. Some people don't want to deal with that. They want a brick and mortar GameStop, Best Buy, Walmart style experience, and you can't get that with the Steam Deck. If you could, that number would be even higher.
You have to get your Steam Deck either through a second party seller on Amazon or a second party shop that has bought the Steam Deck directly from Valve's own website, which was almost impossible to get back when it originally released. You had to wait about 6 months. That's how long I waited to get mine before you even get your hands on it. On top of that, the device is not sold worldwide. It has multiple restrictions on which countries it's sold to. Many people have to go to other countries itself to then get the product to move back into their own country. So you're looking at
It only launched in Australia like very end of the year, and it had been out since 2022. So for like a whole 2 years, the device literally just wasn't in Australia. It didn't exist. Isn't that fucked up to think about?
multiple factors that are designed to not have the Steam Deck to be able to be sold worldwide, yet at the same time also has restrictions on where it is sold in those regions where it's available. But hey, apparently that's not enough for some people because now it's a failure. Don't believe me? Here is Stealth on Twitter saying, according to the analyst data, Steam Deck has sold approximately 3.7 to 4 million units in 3 years. This is why the Switch 2 really has nothing to worry about in terms of competition from other handheld systems. Stealth, I'm sorry. Why are we sitting here talking about the Switch 2 and the Steam Deck in terms of competition from
Yeah,
handheld
they're not
systems?
really the same.
These two devices are vastly different, have
Correct.
different target demographics, have different users they're actually trying to target, and are not truly
Like, you can enjoy a Nintendo Switch and enjoy a Steam Deck, but if your main device is the Nintendo Switch, you're probably not looking for things outside of Nintendo's ecosystem. And you're probably not looking to break that walled garden. Like, you want to stay in that.
competing against one another. The Steam Deck is an extension of my PC. It is not my entire PC, although it probably can be the way I'm treating things now. On top of
Don't do that.
Just because they're both handheld devices, it does not mean that they are in direct competition with one another. Their market, the way they're sold, who they're sold to, what games they have on there, are all vastly different altogether. I really honestly can't stand this entire concept of like, oh, they're both a handheld, therefore you gotta make them compete with one another. They can both exist in their own ecosystem. And trying to sit here and be like, well, I had to choose between one or the other. The Switch 2, we don't know how much it's going to cost, but we know the Switch 1 is incredibly affordable, while the Steam Deck is also inside that same ballpark. But they are targeting vastly different consumers and customers.
Yep,
Not
correct.
everybody wants to learn Linux and Proton or SteamOS to play their games on their Steam Deck. And not everything is
You don't need to learn Linux or Proton, really. You just play and you look at the little check mark and it tells you if the game is verified, if it's not supposed to work. If you already own some games, you can check them anyway. But for the vast majority of them, you don't really need to like go into all of the uses. You can use it like a little console and it'll for the most part work that way. But it has so much more on top of that. There's so much more on top of that.
is a closed ecosystem like the Switch, which honestly has outdated hardware even for now. And even then, when the Switch 2 comes out, we don't know what it's going to be. Because in my personal opinion, the reason why the Steam Deck is being brought up against the Switch 2 is because people want the Switch 2 to be as powerful or more powerful than the Steam Deck itself, to be able to play those third-party games at a better resolution, at a better frame rate. That's the only real comparison. They want to have the ability to say, hey, this is a great device, but not everybody wants to deal with Linux and Proton. But if the Switch 2 can keep up with it in its current iteration, that would be fantastic for that actual system. Talking about it's got nothing to worry about is the most fanboy bullshit take to possibly imagine. And in fact, FSAPO Jake replied to you.
There's one problem. The Steam Deck wasn't designed to be a Switch competitor. Sure, some people will cross-shop them, but the Steam Deck was built to increase the market adoption of SteamOS, not compete with the Switch. They're trying to compete with Windows, which is, by the way, an even bigger task than trying to compete with Nintendo. Let me be honest with you. Valve trying to take the market share away from Microsoft is way tougher of a task than them trying to take market share away from Nintendo. Because they also know how to make games. And if they made some fucking games and they made some good ones like they used to, they could do it. But I digress. Their main competition is Windows. But something to think about is the more people you pull towards SteamOS in a handheld form, the less likely people are to rethink about grabbing that new Nintendo console, the fresh one that's coming out, because now instead, now instead they're thinking about, oh, what can I buy on Steam? Like, oh, I have all of my Steam library here, right? I don't have to worry about moving over to another platform or, setting up my Nintendo account again, all of that nonsense. It's an accidental fight on both fronts, but I don't think the fight against Nintendo is the one they care about. Biggest Dickus is a crazy fucking name.
Stealth saying this: the Steam Deck wasn't designed to be a Switch competitor. Sure, some people will cross-shop them, but the Steam Deck was built to increase market adoption of SteamOS, not to compete directly with the Switch. Also, it's only sold on Steam, not in stores or officially on Amazon. And Jake is again 100% right. I think the best part about the fact of the Steam Deck is I, in fact, can emulate my Nintendo Switch games onto my Steam Deck. That's why this device is honestly so fantastic. Because if this thing ever croaks, I can emulate everything onto here.
Yeah.
When people talk about, like, I want the Switch 2 to be as powerful as the Steam Deck, that's why. Because if they're going to be backwards compatible, if they're going to have the ability to have more power and horsepower under the hood, people want to be able to actually have a device that is not outdated when it first launches and have it already be 3 years old when it first releases, and then another 7+ years old being super long in the tooth 4 years ago. But see, Corey Galom went ahead and decided to put some more context into this as well. Around 4 million Steam Decks sold with zero...
Carrie, that's the Fox, right? The YouTuber? That's the YouTuber The Fox. Yeah, that's the YouTuber The Fox. Yeah, that's Beast. Yeah, let him know.
Advertising and no brick and mortar footprint anywhere in the US. Not seen in Best Buy, not seen in Walmart, not seen in Costco, not seen in Target. That's essentially 10% of Steam's monthly active users. That's an excellent number for word of mouth alone. And
that's what I'm saying. That's what I meant, right? Like not having it in brick and mortar stores with no real advertising. That is insane. What a good number. It could be better if they did those things. But the fact that they've been able to build that ecosystem basically all on their own without actually needing to use anything else, phenomenal. And it's not something you can really compare to what Nintendo's doing. Not the same.
Right, I know I said Corey before. I'm so sorry for missaying your name. This device was literally only available on Valve's website with no brick and mortar, no place of actually going out physically to get it, was not available in other multiple countries, and it had 10% of Steam's MAUs. That's a success. I don't care how you want to slice it or put it. But the thing is, there are people still on this actual website that are truly the most of all. And they're trying to sit there and make comparisons to a device of others simply because of the form factor and not realizing that there are other restrictions applicable to these devices in general. Take a look at this, for example. The PlayStation fanboy that thinks he has to put pennies inside of his penny loafers says PlayStation Portal outsold the Steam Deck lifetime sales. God damn, what are we doing here? In my post-up voice. I don't know, J-Dub. What are we doing here? Being completely every single time you try to say something on Twitter? Why on earth would you compare the PS Portal to the Steam Deck? I know, merely because they're both handheld devices.
Yeah, like comparing a cloud gaming device that requires that you have a PS5 to a device that does everything all on its own is it's a little brain dead. Even if that means that there's more widespread adoption because it's a higher percentage of users getting a PS Portal that have a PS5 than it is people who have Steam accounts getting a Steam Deck. Like, it's still not a good comparison because the devices don't inherently do the same thing.
The Portal cannot play a game natively on that handheld whatsoever. It simply relies on streaming everything from the PS5 to your Portal device. You're paying $200 for a handheld device that cannot play games unless you spend an extra $500 for the console to play it on. And even then, they just recently allowed you to stream games from PSN to that device as well. So please, don't come in here talking about like, oh, my $200 device that is half the price of the actual Steam Deck that can't play games natively, that can be bought in every other location across the entire world and America.
Not a good thing.
Outsold a device that is only available on an actual website and is a portable PC and uses Linux and can't play every single game. I wonder why that sold more. This obsession with things selling more truly is astounding to me. We see this all.
Like, you have to look at things in relation, not in not as just a sales number, right? So if like a little indie game like Balatro sells, okay, well, Balatro has a huge amount of sales, but I guess we can't use Balatro. Let's look at a game like, I don't know, a game. We'll just make up a game right now. I'm making a video game now called Treasure Hunters. Treasure Hunters. I made it on a shoestring budget of $20 and all of the man hours I could put into it. I had like $20 worth of assets that I bought from a friend, and like it's pixel art, and that's all I put in, right? All of the assets, and then I did all the coding myself. Say total with manpower hours, it's a $3,000, $4,000 project, right? If I count my labor at what I make per hour working my 9 to 5, $15. $4,000 project. That game sells, I don't know, 2 million copies. That's not a lot when it comes to video games. Like, there's games that sell 60 million, 70 million copies. So to compare that $2 million on the shoestring budget of $3,000 to a game that cost $60 million to make but sold 4 million copies, 40 million copies, is like very, very disingenuous. And it's like cognitive dissonance to the maximum. You can't really do that and make a real point. It doesn't like prove anything except for the fact that you're stupid and don't know how numbers work.
All the time. Oh, the Steam charts say that this game has more active players, therefore it's more sales, when in reality, active players do not mean sales.
Yep,
oh,
correct.
You only sold 4 million units? You're a failure. You didn't sell 75 million consoles like I did. And anyways, trying to sit there and bat for a company selling more products isn't going to help you at all in the long run.
Yeah, PlayStation's not gonna fuck you, bro. You don't have to go to war for PlayStation. They're not gonna fuck you, bro. Don't worry.
Leo Rome responds to J-Dub saying, "My guy, Steam Deck is only sold on Valve's website," with J-Dub replying, "What's your point?" And then Leo Rome responds saying, "Limited region, limited visibility, limited sales." J-Dub's response to that was this. I hope you're sitting down, by the way. What? They have access to over 3 billion PC gamers. They are the world's largest digital stores. Stop the cap. Cap emoji. It's
Okay. He has a slight point. When you're using Steam, you can be advertised the Steam Deck, but they don't shove it in your face. They're not like showing you the Steam Deck like, hey, buy Steam Deck, hey, buy Steam. It's like on the store. Look, I can show you guys really fast. They just like put it on the store, and that's it. You see it once. You go to Steam. Like, well, let me go to the very base beginning of Steam. Let me show you guys. You go to Steam. You go to store. And it's not even like the very beginning, right? It's right here. It's just this little space. It's just this little tiny space. That's all it is. It's not a bunch of real estate on the screen. And then you have this other little banner right here, right? But look how many more things are on the screen. They're not like blasting the Steam Deck in your face. And for it to make those sales without them doing that is pretty impressive, right? They're not like they're not paying like $20 million a year for advertising for like weird commercials. Well, I feel just like a child. They're not doing that. And they're making hopefully decent profit off of their devices. I'm getting real tired of that shit turning itself off.
Going to sell horribly. Majority of PC folks don't spend money like that. Okay.
Yep.
How do you sit there and completely ignore all logic whatsoever, say PC gamers don't spend money like that when they're literally going out and being completely stupid and buying $2,000 GPUs just to have them? So are PC gamers not spending money like that, or are they spending money like that? I don't know which is which. At one moment, PC gamers don't buy games. At the next moment, basically, we're saving Helldivers 2, and practically every other game that comes to PC is printing money for PlayStation.
Yeah.
But apparently, we don't spend money like that.
I remember for some reason in the console war, they were using Black Myth Wukong as their game to bat. They were like, yeah, Xbox doesn't have this, and look how much it sold. And then the devs were like, well, it actually sold mostly on PC. And they're like, well, it sold mostly on PC because there's a bunch of Chinese gamers. No, it actually wasn't that many people from China. Well, I guess they bought it because they couldn't pirate it. Look, what the can you stop moving the goalpost, PlayStation people? Shut up.
But then we do spend money like that, and it's a niche product, but then it's literally unable to be sold in other regions and only on the website, basically confirming that you are an idiot because you said it's a niche product, and it is a niche product because it's only sold on the website.
That's true. Yeah, it's a niche
You
product,
see
but
the kind of things
the
that I
fact that
put
it's
up
selling
with all
well.
the time. Not only do I have now Nintendo fanboys comparing the Switch 2 and the Steam Deck, now I've got PlayStation fanboys talking about whatever the fuck they think they're talking about. And then, of course, there's this clown, King Thrash the Gatekeeper, saying the Steam Deck, the 50 series, all proof that PC is a full-on scam.
I was okay. Well, the 50 series, sure. But what about the Steam Deck? No wonder PC gamers are so invested in console gaming. They're not. They want console games on PC, so they don't have to play them on console. What do you mean? If every console game just came to PC, you know how much less the console sales would be, but how much more money the console manufacturers would make because instead they'd be selling to PC players. Just a thought.
No wonder PC gamers are so invested into console gaming. The 50 series, the 40 series, the 30 series, and the 20 series GPUs for NVIDIA, absolutely 100% a scam. Without a doubt. He's got one there.
Yeah, I'll give him that.
To you. A broken clock.
Like
right.
he said the 50 series, and I'm like, you could take it back like all the way to maybe like the 20 series. Or maybe the 30 series. But like 30 was only because there was like GPU scalping and shit. The 20 series and below, those were all like good value, you know? That's just part of this. But why the fuck are you using RTX? I don't know, use AMD.
Right, twice
Unless
a
you want to play Monster Hunter Wilds, get fucked.
Steam Deck being a scam? How is the Steam Deck a scam?
I'm wondering how the
It's
Steam Deck's a
literal
scam too.
Portable gaming PC that plays practically every game on Steam, that is fully modular, fully repairable. You can even install Windows onto it if you want to play every single game
Something
on
to think
that
about.
device. And yet here you are saying this? And let's be real about this, talking about what is an actual scam. On PC, we get games for less prices because we can buy them from different actual stores. We don't have to pay for another online service to connect to our own internet. We're not beholden to whatever PlayStation has to do. We're not required to sign into those online services. We don't have to spend all that money up front. We have the ability to adjust everything we want. We're not beholden to the actual publishers and developers. So in reality, when you talk about...
You're kind of halfway wrong because the developers and publishers have these stupid things in their games sometimes where you have to have like an account for it and yada yada blah blah blah. But if they don't have that, or if you're not dealing with that, yeah, you're right. Like you're very much so A-okay and don't have to deal with any of the extra bloatware that publishers want to throw on you by making you have to deal with a console. And yes, I just called a lot of console things bloatware because it's like halfway true.
What is a scam? It's not PC gaming. NVIDIA, absolutely a scam. But there are other companies to buy GPU from as well that don't treat customers like that and that aren't a scam directly. So saying that the Steam Deck and PC gaming are a scam truly is a most of all. Congrats, you played yourself. You're the same guy who thought you could land on a gas giant. So yeah, I'm honestly truly sick and tired of people trying to make stupid comparisons to either devices, games, or anything else like that simply because the outer shell of the form factor are the same. And honestly, in my opinion, if Xbox does this right, they can actually create a handheld device that can break through a lot of the barriers that the Steam Deck is facing right now. Whether it's a proper Windows UI or a proper Xbox UI for
let's say a proper Xbox UI on top of Windows. I don't want a Windows like a Windows 8 UI again, even though it wasn't that bad. I would rather just have an Xbox UI on top of Windows. That makes a lot more sense to do.
Completely having access to your Steam library or even Epic library or even GOG library on that actual device on top of having Game Pass, having the ability to install your games natively, being able to transfer those game save files from device to device without any sort of issues. With Xbox Game Pass on the PC side, you could in fact have a true handheld device that could really go out and do something great. With RDNA 4 coming out on the horizon and being as energy efficient as it is and even as powerful as they're claiming it to be, the future could in fact be for PC gaming to be completely handheld instead of a desktop. And honestly, I would kind of welcome that.
With how good handhelds are, doubt it. But maybe if chips get more efficient and we get better optimization for games and, of course, upscaling and frame generation, we'll work on those. Yeah, we could have an all, or not all, but mostly handheld gaming future.
For having a PC to edit and do everything else on there. I could just put this onto a dock and use that directly. So who knows what the future holds? But I think what's happening is there are too many restrictions for what Valve is trying to do with this device, and they are successful with it, even though it was only 4 million sold. And those 4 million sales have inspired other companies to try and compete in that market with their own devices. And now with the rumors of Xbox, like I said before, making a handheld, you could in fact see a market really grow and take shape to where other people are completely ignoring it. The PC gaming handheld space, in my opinion, could be the next big boom. But the thing is, but for it to be successful and done right, it has to fix a lot of the issues and concerns that are being shown up right now with Valve's Steam Deck as well.
I don't even think it's just. I don't think the Steam Deck are the biggest problem.
Below. Are you picking up a Steam Deck? Are you waiting for the next iteration?
I think Windows is like the biggest problem with handheld gaming. There's just not good software. There's not good software to, mask all of the problems that Windows has for the most part, right? Like some people like Legion Space. Most people like Armor Crate. Like I don't hear a lot of problems with Armor Crate, but they're not real. They're band-aids over a fucking bullet wound. Like they're not good. They're just not good. They need to be better, a lot better.
Or are you going to try and see what Lenovo or Asus and everybody else is trying to do with their devices as well, or maybe even Microsoft with their handheld that's being rumored to come out? I'd love to see what you guys have to say. Now, if you want to see more of this kind of content, more of my hot takes on the gaming industry, more PC port reviews, gaming news, Steam Deck videos, fanboy content, and live streams every Saturday night, 8:45 p.m. Eastern, subscribe to the channel. We're on our way to 78,000 subscribers, and I just want to say thank you guys for that as well. If you want Discord access or emotes during those live streams on Saturday nights, 8:45 p.m. Eastern, become a YouTube member. It's as low as $1. If you don't want to spend a buck, just show up.
I don't skip
Saturday
ads.
Nights,
That's his ad.
8:45 p.m. Eastern. Trust me, it's a hell of a time. And with all that being said, thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you have a great one, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace!
Like he had a lot of good points when it came to kind of trying to separate the fact from the myth, right? We don't need to pretend that just because something is in the same form factor that it's automatically going to be a competitor to something else, right? The market that Valve started and broke into is a market that is mostly operated by boutique handhelds back in the day, right? You think of like the GDPs and INEO devices, and they slashed the price on that, made the competition significantly steeper, and made it so that devices had to come in significantly cheaper. And they also put a lot of pressure on Microsoft by saying, hey, here's an operating system that's very focused on gaming, very, very sleek, very modern, and works well and isn't bogged down by a lot of the Windows jank. Their pitch was never to beat Nintendo. Their pitch was always to take away market share from Nintendo. And I think that matters a lot more than pretending like it's a Switch and Switch 2 competitor. Also, this freeze frame is so fucking good. This was a good video, too.